Right, just had to stop for a bit, have a coffee, some toast, just to replenish my energy. And this has been lightly painted, not brilliantly, but it looks better than what it did before. Timing cover is nice and clean, very nice and clean, especially between these. Don't want grease there. Very dry and clean, And if this was black, I'd be wire brushing it and painting it up, but because it's blue, I like that. I don't have any colour blue near that. That's a weird, like sort of 1960s blue, I should say. So I'll keep it like that. Patina, that's all right. I can accept that. The main thing to think about now is, well, water pump has to go back on, but we need to make sure that all these faces are nice and clean. Now, I've just given it a very light sanding down. You've still got some dirty water that's still limited. It's still coming out, honest to God. I'm going to have to probably release the jack a little bit just to get some of this water out. I might even blow it out. But just make sure that this is nice and sort of dry as such. So I'm going to try and get some more water out. But while that's going on there, make sure that the Woodrow key, okay, make sure that the Woodrow key is entirely in line with this notch where my finger is, okay? That is top dead centre, and that is absolutely perfect. This is absolutely perfect. I think if I take you through here and use this lovely hole, oh no, I can't. It's not going through. There we go. That is entirely square. That is precisely what you want. Yeah, we've still got a lot of mess coming out. I'm probably going to give this a bit of a stone chip on the sump as usual. But cleaning, painting and all that sort of stuff. Oh, it has been tested. That is nice to know. This water pump is... tell you what, that spins nice and freer than the old one. Yeah, the old one was not spinning as freely as this. It felt a bit like stiffer than that. So this is a good thing, especially with this tensioner. The main thing is we have got this gasket here, okay? Now, the thing is with this is that it's the old-fashioned, we haven't got any dowels to hold it. On more modern cars, particularly Mark 1 Focuses, 90s, noughties stuff, and onwards, you have dowels to hold this in place, but you kind of have to sort of make sure it doesn't shift a little bit. Now, there's no real sign of Hylamar on that block, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't really think that that would be a major issue, but I like to I don't really like to take chances, normally anyway. Now, I was going to put Hylamar on this, but the truth is, I don't think it's necessary as long as you tighten the bolts up. Now, the torque settings are quite low on these, but I would suggest with water pump bolts, we're talking about very small 10mm bolts. Nip them up, okay? No, don't tighten them up too much because you're going to snap them. You just nip them up. It's as simple as that. And then that will go straight on really nicely. I just need to do a little bit more cleaning around here first. Right, ignore my last advice. I have used Hylamar blue non-setting and smeared it around the gasket. Ignore what I said. The manual did say to use a sealing compound, even though there was no evidence of it on the last time. Nope. I think it's best to be safe with this sort of thing. Right, there's no real way about it. I'm going to line it up and line the bolts in. It goes in this way. Simples. Right, this is the tricky bit, guys. Just put your first bolt. Well, that's gone now. I've got to find that bolt. It's alright. I've got a second bolt in my hand. It's always a faff, this. Without the dowels, it can be really faffy. Just get lined in and just get your first bolt screwed in. Oh, come on, just go in. Looks really nice already with a new water pump. It's always nice to have a nice new water pump. Wasn't particularly. There we go. Come on. Go in. Kind of jiggle it around a little bit just to get all the bolts in. Do not tighten any of these water pump bolts up yet until you've got all four into position. Now, why is that not threading in? Hold on. Is that the right bolt? It might not be. No, it's not. See, when the gasket's in the way, it won't let me put it through. No, the gasket slipped, that's why. So if I just move that gasket up a little bit, that Hylamai is already working a treat. It's actually sticking, but the problem is it's not sticking in the right place. There we go. I've actually found a thread. My God. Woohoo! Right, now I've got the top two in. That means that the gasket will be seated correctly for the bottom two bolts. I'm sorry if my camera keeps auto-focusing out. Look at this pump. Whoa! Always love a good brand new-ish water pump. Well, it is brand new, but it probably won't last as long as a genuine one. Well, won't, because aftermarket ones generally just don't. They have a lifespan of about 5 years, I reckon. And I reckon, to be fair, I wouldn't let any car go. Even though Beatrix, the K series, needs a timing belt change every 6 years, which is quite poor actually for an engine that age and advanced design. The Sigma engine requires it every 10 years, but the truth is I never ever skimp on timing belts. It's like I'd just rather have it done, you know what I mean? I'd rather just do it every 5 years. So the Sigma will get another timing belt in 3 years. And now we're just going to evenly tighten all these bolts up, just a little bit more there. Oh, it's starting to look really nice. All nice and degreased down here. I think with this engine bay, it was the last section, this sort of area, that I hadn't actually covered with degreaser, because, I'm not being funny, this engine bay was actually quite disgusting. I've had a few questions of people saying, why are you doing so much? You don't need to do that much, surely. It isn't that bad. Well, the thing is, my standards are a bit higher than yours in that case, because clearly, if you've asked that question, then you've obviously decided for yourself that it's not a bad car and I shouldn't have messed with so many things. Ideally, there were some things that I actually didn't need to mess with, and I know that. But I like to know, for my sake, that it's going to be a reliable car, as reliable a car, during my ownership. There you go. I'm just nipping all these up. I'm not talking any of these bolts, okay? Because quite frankly, if we're talking about 10 Newton meters, we're talking about nipped up. 10 Newton meters or less is nipped up or hand tight. So keep going around, because when you tighten one, the other might loosen a little bit, or well, feel a bit looser. So there we go. That's nipped. That's nipped. That's nipped. And that's nipped. And at the end of the day, you're not going to have a good ownership experience if you're not doing things properly. I think that's the most important. Right, doesn't that look nice down there? It looks really, really nice. Now, do check that we're lined up, and we are definitely lined up at the bottom. So now we are ready for the belt. Okay, now, is there any particular way? Well, before we put the belt on, if you want to know the number, SKF TB04201. Okay. That is, well, I shouldn't be putting it near any contamination. I don't want that. Don't want oil on that belt. This is why you clean things, guys. I've seen mechanics put, I don't think it's professional for mechanics that and people, I'm not being funny, who I've seen on the internet, I don't think it's very professional at all to put a timing belt on such a dirty, they can get dirty. If you've got a crank seal, a crank seal link, it can leak in a lot of places. Rocker cover can leak right down. Trust me, it's not good practice to leave this area full of muck and then you're putting the timing belt on. You've got to clean this. It's got to be dry. And that's as dry as what it will get, and as clean as what it will ever get, without sandblasting, basically. I wish the whole engine bay looked as nice as that water pump, but it doesn't. It's an old car. It's an old car. First of all, crankshaft sprocket. Remember, front keyway, and it just links in. Okay. You're never going to go wrong with a timing belt as long as you've got things lined up properly. So, you know, it's just a bit tight, this actually. It will be a bit of a faff. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's just slid straight on there. Okay. It just hits this washer here. It's just to help the sprocket sit against. Now, the difference between this and anything on a later Ford, mainly ZTEC and Sigma engines, and I believe the EcoBoost engines, they all have a free floating sprocket. So there's no keyway, so you can just turn this. So the only thing to actually keep the sprocket in the correct timing is the pressure of the crankshaft pulley on that sprocket, and that's done with the bolt. That's why it's a really important factor in torquing those bolts up. Those bolts on those engines are torqued to something stupid. That's why I bought the Milwaukee down there, because getting them off is horrifically bad. Anyway, I am going to put the belt on very loosely. Which way? Right, some people say have the writing this way, some people say have the writing this way. It doesn't matter. I prefer the writing to be facing me on this side. I'm just a fuddy-duddy. Now, this could be a bit of a faff doing this. So I'm just going to whip that around there. As long as we can get the belt, there we go. The belt is in that place, and it's sort of splined there. Now, obviously, the belt's going to be running along there as well. Okay, so this is where the tensioner comes into place, and we're going to put the tensioner bolts. There's one bolt hole there and one there, so we're going to put that on next. What we're going to have to do. Oh dear me. Okay, we put it this way, and we put the bolts in, and just put the bolts in loosely here. Okay, you just want them in loosely. Oh, come on, just thread in. Nothing wants to thread in, it's that clean. There we go. And the other bolts will just go over this side. This is going to be a bit of a faff. Excuse me. You probably can't see what I'm doing down here, but just threading that other bolt back in. Okay, so what I've done, I've slid this tensioner as far away. We don't want it on this side. We want it slid this way. Remember, it's nice and slack. I haven't tightened these two bolts, by the way. They're nice and slack, so this whole tensioner can go in and out. Okay, that's what you want. Now, we're just checking that it's all fully around the sprocket, which it is. It's now seated around the water pump, which it is, and we're just pushing it around the tensioner, and I've just managed to slide it on. It should be a really tight fit, this, and just keep sliding it on gradually. And this is why I know it's timed up properly, and we're not like a quarter or tooth out. It's all going on really nicely. And yeah, make sure it's kind of in the middle. I've seen cars where they're like this, where they've gone too far on one side. That's pretty poor work, that is. Made in the EU. Definitely so. Just make sure that we're not going out of true and everything is just around. Yeah, the belt's nicely around there, and around the tension it's seated nicely. You know, just take your time. Now, this last section may be a bit of a pain. I've used screwdrivers before to obtain this kind of. Oh no, hold on, it's pushing on. I have used screwdrivers before. You're not really meant to, but as a way of course, it does kind of help get it in position. Now that is almost perfect. Just a bit here. Not quite happy with that. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so we check down here again. Yeah, that belt is running along the water pump. Yeah. Now, if we just turn the belt, we can turn it a lot more than 90 degrees. That's poor. Now, what we need to do is push the tensioner to the side. Now, what you're going to need to do is probably use a pry bar to achieve this, and then tighten those bolts. Now those bolts are supposed to be tightened up to about 20 Newton meters. I'm just going to confirm that, but it is, I'm sure it is 20 Newton meters. It says in the book 15 to 20 Newton meters. And that should get us that level of weight. Basically, the rule of the thumb with CVHs is they must not turn more than 90 degrees. It mustn't. Okay, so that is the correct tension. It's not under tension, it's not over tensioned. So there will be turn. You want to be able to turn it, but I don't think it's physically possible to move this tensioner that way. And you don't want to be burning up this bearing. It's to save the water. It's to make sure the water pump and the bearing are not under too much pressure to the point where they could crap the bearings, but everything is tight enough to not slip or jump a tooth or dangerous, basically. So what you need to do is you can get a screwdriver and actually push it along, but that's going to be pretty hard. So I'll see what I can do. I've just had a look around for a place to do this. Get a crowbar between that bolt, the left hand bolt, and a bit of the block of the tensioner, and just do that. See that? Look how everything's gone a bit more taut. And there will be some movement because naturally we're not tightened up yet. Just if I can just fractionally tighten these bolts, there we go, but not enough so you don't get movement. And that's it. You just layer against the bolt, and that should get you enough movement to actually move this. There we go, that's taut. You can't get more than that sort of movement. Okay. Just keep checking. I would say that's a bit too much movement. Okay. I'm going to slacken that bolt off just a little bit. That's actually tightened. Why has that happened? That bolt has actually tightened itself. Right, thank you. Oh, it's moved back. Right, start again and go for it. Go for it. Come on. It's a tricky task, this is. It's not going to take first time. It'd take a few goes to get this right. But that feels tight enough, that does. Okay, now this is where I've put the socket on the floor and I'm trying to hold it in place. Now, tighten that bolt as much as you can. Okay, right, that should hold it. Now we tighten the rear bolt. Okay, remember this is 20 Newton meters, but anyway, now let's see what happens when we turn the belt. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. It needs to be fractionally tighter. Again, you need to play around with this. So I'm just going to loosen this bolt off and loosen this. There we go, and it's gone back. Right, then we're going to try again. You have to keep trying, so keep trying this process until you get it right. Okay, now I managed to get everything shifted second time. Those bolts are now torqued up to 20 Newton meters. I did probably torque it up a little bit more than that, to be fair, just for safety, but now I can honestly say I can't turn that belt more than 90 degrees max, and that feels really taut, and that's perfect. Now the next stage, we're going to put the bottom cover back on and then the crankshaft pulley. Basically, we'll then rotate the engine a couple of times. What we can do, actually, theoretically, we don't actually need the crankshaft pulley on because of the design of this engine. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop the engine, put the pulley bolt back in, and turn the engine round. And if we don't have any clashing, if it stops and you can't turn it, there's a problem. The timing's off. So turn it round 2 revolutions. You can turn it round a few more if you're not so happy. Keep turning it round, and if there's no clashing, you're good. Check the markings line up as well, and check that this belt, you still can't turn it 90 degrees because you're setting this belt tension a little bit by turning it. That's always the way with these. And just say put the bolt back on and just rotate the engine a few rotations. Okay, you will hear a hissing sound, and then you'll hear nothing. That is the compression. Oh, you know when you're on the compression stroke, and that's gone easy. It's gone hard again. Oh, come on, rotate. Come on. Oh God, I've got the spark plugs. Oh no. Guys, take your spark plugs out. I've put mine back in. No wonder I'm finding it difficult to turn it. But just turn it to its... There we go, we're getting there. Oh, I think we've passed. Yeah. Oh, I haven't got my torch, but that line's marked up, and that line has... Whoa, can you see? Yeah, that's marked up, and I can see, just to confirm, yeah, the lines are marked up. Yeah. I'm very happy with that. Brilliant. Right, I've jacked it back up again. I've just made sure that this belt is nicely seated. It's just pushed off a bit there. This is not really the correct tool for this job, guys, but it's quite tight now. Oh, come on, just budge on. Come on, budge. Stupid thing. Come on. Right. I'll get a much more lenient tool to just budge that on, because look, that's not sitting right, is it? We want it more... Yeah, it's not as much on that side. We need to get it nicely seated again. I'll rotate it another couple of times just for my benefit. I want to make sure that it is doubly safe. But if you look down there, right, the crankshaft mark. Now, don't worry about the Woodrow key, because that's not as accurate. It's this piece you need to line up with. Look at that. It's perfectly lined up with that notch. Perfectly. And then the cam is perfectly lined up. Brilliant. No clashing. Yeah, I had the spark plugs in, hence why we had a lot of compressed air sounds. Yeah, some of it would have been pushed out of here, here as well. Excuse me. That is it. I'm really happy with that. That is now tensioned, and the other thing to check is the tension still on? Yeah, I'm happy about that. By the time we've got to 90 degrees, it's tight. That is exactly how a CVH should be. We have just completed a timing belt change. Give a round of applause. I'll stop that. No, I don't want a round of applause. Now, it's just a simple case of taking this bolt back out, putting the lower cover back on with the 2 bolts, the crankshaft pulley with the bolt. That'll be interesting. So that's the next thing to come. So I'll do that. Off now, it should sit quite nicely over those sort of dowel things, and now just put that back in. Lovely. Come on, that's it. Lovely. Right, in the eagle eye viewers will know that I've sprayed this in a bit of satin black, and it's looking clean and nice as per the rest of the car at this present stage. It really is, with all the additions of clips and all sorts of bits and pieces. Now we have the pulley. Now the pulley, I have taken this engine out of position, by the way. I've got to put it back in position in a second, just for this. Now what I might have to do actually is turn it. I just wanted to actually turn the engine to actually get this nut off, and I didn't lock it, so it's obviously it turned. So I'm just going to get this lined up again before we actually go for the big wacky with the gun. Come on. Right, that's it. Lovely. Okie dokie. Okay. But anyway, we are there. Let me just check up there. Yep, okay. You have to keep checking this, guys. I really must state that. And now we put the crankshaft pulley on, it will just key in. We'll just go on. Might need a bit of a hand to actually. God, that is tight. Okay, remember, like I said, that notch here needs to be lined up, not with the first one, with the second one, because the first one is 4 degrees after top dead center. We want 0, which is, yeah, that is lined up. Ah, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. We're now in a position to put a crowbar back into that flywheel and whack the bolt up. It's as simple as that. Oh, aren't you going to torque it up, Andrew? Yeah, well, the torque setting is 110 Newton meters, but the truth is, the way I'm locking the flywheel isn't exactly brilliant. You really need 2 people for this. Now, this is not a manual. You cannot get someone to get in the car, put their foot on the brake, and that's it. It's an automatic. The gearbox will keep on spinning with the engine, irrespective of the brakes. The brakes will stop the gearbox, well, the secondary part of the gearbox, but the engine side will keep spinning. Can't do it with automatics. So you have to lock the flywheel. But the way I'm doing it is, it needs a second person, really. It was good enough to get it off. Now, the truth is, with the Milwaukee, it should just whiz it on without any spinning. If it does spin, it will just spin together. Now, the truth is, there's no real panic about this because we have a Woodrow key. With Ford Focuses and later Fords without a Woodrow key, there is a chance that while you're torquing it up, if your gun is not powerful enough, it will start spinning the pulley. And if you're spinning the pulley, your sprocket may actually go out of alignment with the timing. That's a bit of a faff, which is why I bought the Milwaukee. But with this, there's really no chance because you've got a Woodrow key to keep things still. But I'm still going to lock the flywheel in the usual way. So let me get onto there and put that in there. Okay, that's braced. And this is advice for anybody using impact guns in this sort of situation. How do you know when the bolt has got to its yield point where it's stopping? Well, easy. You could take a reference point, so where it says Pro, for US Pro, because these are really good impact sockets. You could take like a little pointer from there. You could put a paint mark on it so that you can see what this socket is doing. If it is slowing down and it's gotten to the point where it can't move anymore, that's it, that's enough, because these are not torqued ridiculously. 110 Newton meters, here we go. Whoops-a-daisy. Now what we might want to do is just make sure that that pulley is definitely, yeah, it's actually pushed on properly now. So I'll just go for the whack. Now watch that dot here. I can't turn that anymore. Bingo, that is whacked up. That's not coming out. That is never ever coming out. I've never had a problem with the Focus or Beatrix doing it this way, but you have to do it up more. You may over torque it. You might be doing more than 110. Is that a bad thing though? Not really. Now I haven't put Loctite on that bolt like I said. Guess what? I've run out of Loctite. Stupid. Okay, but it shouldn't need Loctite. It just makes it ridiculously hard for the next owner to get out. And believe you me, Loctite on crankshaft bolts are a nightmare. That's it. That's it. What we can do is confirm that that hasn't put the timing out of place. Done. I've checked again and it all marks up. Brilliant. We're done. As far as the timing belt, we're done. We just need to put this blasted mount back on. This is going to be a bit of a bummer. Now there's no way about it, you can't go in from the top. You're going to have to go in from the bottom side the way we took it out. And it goes in like that, okay? So we got 1 bolt there, 2 bolt there, 3 bolt there, okay? And obviously 4 and 5. So we've got a few bolts to deal with. Oh dear me. Simply the reversal. It's not the reversal. It's not as simple as the Haynes manual says. Now you've got to have the engine in the down position to get this stud back through, because there's no point if you can't get that stud through. There you go, done. And we're sort of seated along the chassis rail down there, and now it will be a case of me dropping the camera and putting one heck of a long bolt in. That one. Right, scratch that idea. This is what you do. Jack it all the way up, get that high, then you line that bolt through to the bottom, and now that's now sitting as it should. I think you've got to attach it to the body and then the engine, because I think it will be a faff. That big bolt that I've just shown you, which was there, oh, it's here, okay, you don't want to be cross-threading that as you're lining that through into the engine. It's where you've got a bit of jiggling to do. That's the main thing. Now it does go in this one here, the most obvious point, but you'll know if you've got your engine too high, it won't actually go in. I can actually see it. Oh, actually that's not far off actually. A bit of jiggling. I will need to jack the engine off just a little bit more. Right, I think, oh, that's it. Now you know you've got the engine up when the mount is not moving any further. Now I'm going to secure this bolt even more just by screwing it by hand, because it seems quite willing at the moment. Yeah, that's quite willing. That's quite secure, but it gives me, you can't have it completely secure because you've got to have some sort of jiggling about to line this bolt through. Okay, you got to just have a little bit of a jiggle, and it does line through into the body, and you will know when it starts to go in. Right, with a bit of jiggling about, can you see that bolt down there where the end of my torch is? Yeah, we've got it in. We've got it in. Just a bit of jiggling around. That's all that was sort of required. And now I can actually wind that bolt in very slowly, but we are going to have to sort of shift things about because I can feel it not threading in completely. Excuse me, I'm getting to the point of this video. Luckily we're coming to the end where my back's just started to go in a big way from contorting around the back side of the engine, getting those mounts in. I've now got 3 of those bolts in. I didn't show it on camera because quite frankly I've had enough. Tighten them with a 17mm. Once you get the first one lined up, you can get the little 2 ones lined up. The big bolt was in, get the little 2 ones in, and that's it. And it should all be aligned. Just tighten up these 2 bolts and that's it. In terms of torque settings, I can't tell you because I can't be bothered. I haven't even looked at the book. But the truth is, most engine mountings on this car are around 60 Newton meters. If you want to torque them up, torque them up. I'm going to go squeaky butt clean. Squeaky butt tight, I should say. See what I mean? I'm losing the will to live. So many jobs. But it feels like this job, we might have turned a corner. Oh, that's tight. You'll know when it's tight. Just put my fingers on there. We'll do it together. 3, 2, 1. Squeaky. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's it. That's tight. You don't need to do any more than that. Okay, so as I say, those 3 bolts are in place. 1 here, the big one, and the 2 over here. I had to take the dipstick out because it was in the way, and I shouldn't have put that hose on. I really shouldn't have. But it's all looking ridiculously clean under there, and a bit of paint on the mounting. I mean, look at that. Looks the bee's knees, doesn't it? Now we've done that bolt down there. All we need to do is that, and look at all that rust that was here. It's all been cleaned. It's gone. That's it. Just a bit of missing paint. And I'm not happy with putting that rusty old sod on. No, I've actually got one off a Focus Mark 1. It's not quite, it's the same thread size obviously, not quite as big a washer. I don't really care, it's a locking nut and that's what is required for this job. I'm not putting a, I'm really not going to put anything particularly nice on there. I can't remember what size, was this a 13? I think it was actually. Oh, what size was this then? It's a 15. That's better. Now, that has been tightened right down. Look at that. That looks really nice, that does. And it's very in keeping with the rest of the car. Being a Ford fitting, I fully approve. Now we can lower the whole thing down once again for the millionth time today. You do need, I tell you, you do need a good jack for this. There we go. Down. That's completely released. Now the main thing is now, what I'd recommend if you were torquing this up, which I can't be bothered to do at this time, I might do it later. I think it's about 65 Newton meters. You need to do it now because the weight is now down. You need to torque it with the weight down. Tighten it with it in the air so that you know that the mounting is butted up fully against the nut, and the nut's not the one that holds the car, it's the whole thread. Now you can just tighten it as it is. I mean, I'm just gonna give it I can't even tighten it anymore. There we go, done. Now I'm thinking top cover. Oh, and the rain has decided to come and play today. Well, we've beaten the rain. I was expecting rain just about now. Brilliant. Well, I'm done. I'm really done. So I'll just slot this back into place. I might have to just do the cover. Okay, just put that back in there and then just slot these clips back in. They are a bit of a faff, these clips, I have to say. Go, done. Clip, 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 clip. Done. It's a bit loose. This one is a bit reluctant to stay in place, which is a bit funny. That could come out at any stage. Might have to swap some of these clips. I don't think that one is particularly good. I've just realised these clips look as if they're missing something. I think something's supposed to be inserted into there. Okay, right. Remember how skunky this timing belt cover was? Well, it's all ready to go straight back on, as long as it just hold together quite nicely. And just put that over. Okay, it goes in like that. Okay, just make sure it's butted up nicely. We have 2 bolts. Now I've got a feeling, I don't know what that was down there. Oh my goodness me! Oh my god! It's the collet! Where the hell was that hanging around? Oh my god! Live on camera, I've got my collet! Oh my god! You're joking. Honest to god. Now I can sort that job out. Oh, bingo. Oh, I'm so happy. Where the hell was that? I do not know. I literally just pushed something. I've been messing around here the whole day and I've not seen anything. That's a bit concerning where that came from. Oh my god. Well guys, someone is looking down on me today. I'm just gonna put these in. That makes me very, very happy. I'm gonna get well, I have ordered a collet. Whether it's the right one, I do not know. No, not at all. I'm assuming I can just slip the rocker cover. Yeah, I can slip it underneath, so I can just tighten up these 2 bolts. Happy days. Right, so if at the end of the valve stem seal video you were a bit bemused to see what's that doing on there, why is that back on, it's because my continuity is mixed up. So basically that is all done and all in. It's looking great and it's starting to look like a CVH once again instead of a block of cast iron / aluminium. So I think I'll get on and do that one, but not now. It is raining, and what good timing. We've done the job and it was easy. You just need to learn and basic practice skills of, you know, making sure it's all timed up and testing it and trying it again, spin it over, test to see if there's clashing. If there's no clashing, good, check the belt. Now I will be checking the belt tensioner again very shortly. It'll be a simple case of just taking these two bolts out, taking the cover off and just checking the tension. If it needs adjusting, you've seen how I've done it with a pry bar and a 13mm spanner, socket I should say. So I'm going to leave this here. We're all good in the engine bay and we're pushing onwards. The next episode, I've got a feeling, will be the window regulator, because I need to get on, because if it starts raining like this despite the car cover, I don't really want a window that is well, I think it dropped a bit the other day. Yes, it has. I've got to push it back up again. But looking at the lovely gloss black on the wheels, it's all coming together now. As I say, some people have asked me, have I done too much? I don't think you can do too much on a car this age, but it's great content, and I'm sure that videos like this are quite helpful to people who want to change the time belt on the CVH, and I could teach a child how to do this. It really is brain dead simple, but take your time. See you soon, guys.